The Razorback basketball team continues to add from the transfer portal, and it's getting to the point to where who hasn't Arkansas had signed from the transfer portal. We'll also get into some Razorback spring football updates and head you into the weekend. This is the Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I'm also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. You know, I keep thinking about the time when we're going to officially move on from anything basketball related and actually get into something spring football or baseball or whatever it may be, which is great. But you keep having big news break each and every day, and it's great for content and everything. So this is going to be one of those podcasts once again where we talk about something that the Razorback basketball team and Eric Musselman did. And this time they added all Pac-12 transfer forward Jalen Graham from the transfer portal. He's 6'9", 220 pounds. He's out of Phoenix, Arizona, and he was all Pac-12 second team selection for the Sun Devils this past year. He averaged about 24 minutes per game, as well as 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and nearly a block per game while shooting 48% from the field. But once he got into Pac-12 play and he played a little bit more, if you just took the averages from how he was in conference, he had 12 points per game at 52% from the field, and his free throw percentage up to nearly 10%, and as well as his impact on the glass to more than 5 per game. And he also scored double figures 15 times this past season. But the most important thing, and that according to Synergy, and this is all coming from hogsports.com, that Jalen Graham ranked 90th in the percentile of overall defense this past year. By the end of the year, he also evolved into a primary scoring option. So knowing like that they added another guy, which if you're keeping score at home, that is the 4 guys that they added from the transfer portal, which is what they've added so far. You got Trevin Brazil, the transfer from Missouri. You got the Mitchell twins, who both came from Rhode Island. And now you have Jalen Graham. And all 4 of those players, what they have in common is that they are each 6'9" or above. All 4 of them, 6'9" or above. Considering that Arkansas under Eric Musselman has really only had one guy that has been truly 6'9" or above that played significant minutes with Jalen Williams. I know people are going to bring up Connor Vanover, but we're talking about significant minutes here. It's going to be quite a different looking team, as we already know from the roster and the names and the players, but also from the size. Because if Jalen Williams comes back for another year, which is 100% still a possibility and could be a reality, knowing all those things together, you could have 5 players that are 6'9" or above. 5. And then include into that guys like Jordan Walsh, who are 6'7". You know, you got Anthony Black, who's 6'7". You got Barry Dunning, who's 6'6", 6'7". You got guys that are just big dudes, and throw in the fact that you're still going to have other pieces in there that are still, you know, really lengthy guys that are coming, like, you know, it's Kamani Johnson if he sticks around, and Devo Davis if he sticks around, and all that. Like, putting all those things together, it's kind of like, wow, okay. So each year under Musselman, the team has got bigger overall. I'm not talking about like just having 1 or 2 guys. I'm talking about overall length and size. They've gotten bigger. And this upcoming year's team, assuming that Jalen Williams comes back, will be the biggest team, or at least have the most guys that are 6'9" or above on a single team. I'm, at least from my math and from my research, since Stan Heath's team back when they had Stephen Hill, Darian Towns, Vincent Hunter, Michael Washington, and Charles Thomas. Like, I believe that was the last time. And I don't even know if Charles Thomas was 6'10", 6'9", 6'10". I think he was maybe 6'8", just going off the media guide. But still, you had a lot of big guys then. And now you're looking at it to where, holy crap, you could have a bunch of dudes that are not only tall, but legitimate, experienced players. And so to next year, size is not going to be an issue. Size is not going to be an issue. Rebounding is not going to be an issue. Blocking is not going to be an issue. Like those things are not going to be issues next year. So you're starting to kind of see Eric Musselman and the madman that he is, the madman genius that he is, putting together his roster where you're going to say, okay, let's go down and let's check these boxes and let's start seeing, all right, well, where, scoring. Well, scoring won't be a problem because you got a lot of scorers here. Okay. All right. Well, what about defense? Okay. Well, you got the guard position, you got this, and at the forward position, you got that. And then what about something like blocking shots and rim protectors? Okay, well you get that, and you go there. What about 3-point shooting? Which we're still kind of figuring that out. We got to see how it goes. But you got this guy. This guy's supposed to be pretty good. Like you're just going through the checking of the boxes and looking at it all in the lens and in the perspective that this could be something that actually ends up being like incredible and like ends up being something that's big time for Arkansas and for this team and for Eric Musselman. And I just am blown away by this. And so people also yesterday when Jalen Williams announced, or when Jalen Graham, so I can't get all the Jalen's. There's so many Jalen's going on now. When Jalen Graham announced his intention to transfer, a lot of people are saying, well, there it goes. That means Jalen Williams is gone. To me, that's not the case at all. To me, it's quite the opposite. To me, it's like, okay, well, Jalen Williams, I think, understood, or at least, no, let me rephrase that. Eric Musselman understands players, and with Jalen Williams in specifics, he would go to Jalen Williams just like he has done to every player and kind of say, here's what our future holds for you. He probably went to KK Robinson and Chance Moore. Of course, he probably didn't have to go to them. They probably already knew, but probably went to him and said, guys, it's probably best for you to transfer. Same thing with Connor Vanover. Like, it's probably best for you guys to move on. In your best interest and our best interest to move on. He would say that. JD Notae was going to go pro. We all knew that. Aldis Toney was kind of a hope, but I don't think he's coming back now at this point, especially with all the additions, and kind of it seemed like it was pretty for certain with his going pro and at agency and all that stuff. So he's moving on. So, they're probably, doing that too. And I'm sure that Muss talked to him about that. So Muss has conversations with players, and you usually have a pretty definitive answer when they're leaving and when they're staying, like because of that fact. But with Jalen Williams in the announcement that he made when he's saying, I am putting my name in the draft, but I'm absolutely leaving the door open to come back, I don't think he would state that unless him and Eric Musselman were on the same page. Like, I don't think that he would say that, but then Eric Musselman's like, no, you're not. We're moving on from you. Like, I don't think that'd be the case. I'm sure that Eric Musselman went to Jalen Williams and said, hey, we love what you're doing. We want you back. But we also understand you want to test the waters and go to the scouting reports from the NBA Combine and all those things to do that. But if you want to come back, which we want you back, there will be a spot for you. And I'm sure that Jalen understands that too. So that's why I feel like this has no impact on Jalen Williams' decision. Jalen Williams is going, like, he was a perennial starter in his first year, especially as the season went on. He was a perennial starter last year in every game. And he's going to be a starter again this upcoming season if he comes back every game. Like, even though these other transfers are going to be hopefully really good, Jalen Williams is still going to be the dude. And you also need him for leadership because we know how good he is at being a leader of this team and helping out there too. So all those things encompassing, though, it's incredible how now this team is going to be huge next year. The size is going to be galore, and you have athletic size with some of these guys too, and really good defenders, rim protectors. It's almost like, all right, let the 5-star players do all the scoring and let the big dudes just do all the defense and kind of, do a couple of things here and there on each side to make it work. And then boom, you got another great team with another great opportunity to possibly make it very far into the NCAA tournament. That's the way I'm looking at it. That's my perspective, at least. So, but I'm excited about this. I'm really excited about the way things have gone so far. And I think that it's just going to continue to get better for Arkansas and for Eric Musselman once we start to know really what this roster really truly looks like. It's time of year where we're pretty much, you're trying to get into that beach bod mode, right? Because spring break has already come and gone, but, summertime is going to be around the corner, and maybe Memorial Day, and you're wanting to go to the lake or go to the beach or whatever. It's tough. It's tough to get that body in check, especially when it comes to eating. But luckily for you, with Built Bar, it can help you along, as you can have so many different flavors to choose from. They're covered in 100% chocolate, so they taste great. But the key thing is that they're healthy too. 17 grams of protein, only 130 calories per bar, and they taste amazing. On top of that, it's almost too good to be true. And right now, because you listen to this podcast, we're offering a sweet deal that if you go to built.com, enter in promo code LOCKED15, you'll get 15% off your next order. It's as simple as that. Just use promo code LOCKED15 at built.com. Check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. It'll be a really cool thing, and you'll start feeling great, and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. And go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off your next order.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so I know that spring football has been going on too, and it's kind of funny that, again, it just takes it's so much to the back burner, but it's still kind of fun to talk about and see what's all been going on. And it was kind of cool too, because if I had time, I was going to cut some video from it, but I just got kind of pushed on Prime. But you got to hear from a couple of the newcomers that came to Arkansas via the transfer portal, and arguably, I don't even know if it's arguably, I think the two may be two of the most important players in their respective roles as far as the expectation that they have. One of them, of course, being Jaden Hazelwood, the wide receiver transfer from Oklahoma, and the other one being Drew Sanders, the linebacker transfer from Alabama. Now, I know that I'm not saying that the other transfers aren't as important. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that those are the two guys that's like you expect them to start right away in that role and have a lot of kind of pressure put on them, but not in a bad way, just that they want to come up and play big time for you. So anyways, it was kind of cool to hear from them and just to hear, what their experience was like and everything. And one of the deals that I saw from and heard from Jaden Hazelwood that I thought was so fascinating, and it cracks me up because when people are always, talking about the SEC and how people chant SEC, SEC at the end of games, and how other conferences just think that's asinine. Okay, yeah, you root for your conference, but you don't root for your own teams and everything like that. No. What Jaden Hazelwood said about him coming to Arkansas is essentially what sums up a lot of people's feelings on the matter. He says, it's the SEC. It just, literally just means more in the SEC. To play in the SEC is a big time deal. Now, of course, he talked about Arkansas and everything, but there's a certain allure about the SEC that players want to play in this conference. And so him saying that really started to make me laugh, because I'm like, man, it continues kind of to show people that it's not just about, and then people don't root for the conference or, sit here in Arkansas where they're like, oh man, I really hope Ole Miss wins all their games. It's not that. It's just a matter of, that we do things differently in the SEC. We are built different in the SEC. We care more in the SEC. We have better players, better coaches, more talent, more money. We are the creme de la creme of everything. Like, that's what it comes down to. And so Hazelwood saying that he comes to Arkansas, he's like, he wants to play in the SEC. And he saw apparently what Traylon Burks did last year and said that was also a motivation, where he's like, I know people kind of put that expectation on me. And he's like, I'm not Traylon Burks. I just want to be the best version of me possible. But, on top of all those things, and he talked about the family atmosphere and how it just really resonated with that. Like, all those things involved, it just really kind of opened up my eyes. It's like, okay, there's a lot of reasons why people choose particular schools and where they go and why they go there and everything. But Hazelwood seems to have found a lot of things about Arkansas that just was kind of made him feel like he was at home, kind of made him feel like he was, ready to just, settle down and be a part of something great, especially. So between all that, with Hazelwood and what he was doing, and, he's still been battling back from injury. So, got to remember that as the issues that he's having, because he's still in those green jerseys. But apparently, this is according to Trey Biddy, it says that KJ Jefferson hit Jaden Hazelwood for a 50-yard bomb. It was his second consecutive day working with the first team at slot receiver after spending the first 2 weeks in drills with the second unit. So he's moving his way up. He's doing big things. Drew Sanders was another one, too, that just by listening to him and hearing him talk, he's felt like he's really, transitioned pretty well into this program. And, because I feel like, and I'm not trying to say this to make it so bloviated towards Alabama. I'm just kind of being honest about it. To me, I feel like if you are like if you're at Alabama and you're starting in Alabama, you're playing at Alabama, you can go anywhere else and fit in. You can go anywhere else and do some things. And I think that's what Drew Sanders is basically being, where he's like, yeah, this is a place for me. I want to go here because I was at Alabama, so this place should be no problem. And that's not like a knock against anybody. Like, it's not anything bad. It's just a reality that you kind of live in, where it's like you understand, okay, well, this is a cool thing. This is something I want to be a part of and something I want to continue to get better at. So all those things involved, though, I just believe it's going to continue to make Arkansas a better program overall, have better things going on for them too. And they're just, going to have to continue to get it done with those two guys. But I just thought it was interesting to hear from them and see how everything's been developing. But there is no real big news stories coming out of spring practice, which honestly, I think is a pretty good thing. BetOnline.net is your number one source for your betting needs and sports info. Find all this latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championships, odds and podcasts and reviews for all the different leagues this season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. So head to the website or use your mobile device today to learn more about the trends and actions over at betonline.net, where the game starts.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so finally, Arkansas baseball was able to take care of business in game one of their series against Florida on the road, and won in pretty convincing fashion. 8-1 was the final score in that one. And Florida, I know that their record hasn't been that great compared to other seasons that they've had. Still a good team, but I just thought it was funny yesterday. I was watching it, and obviously a great game by Arkansas, great performance and all that. But the one that really killed me was the Florida pitcher, Barco, where he was so mean. And this is what cracks me up about baseball. People get yourselves hyped up in certain ways. I get it. Some people are just want to talk a little trash. Some people are really into it, whatever it may be. These types of things, they happen. It's just one of those deals that baseball players are different. They got a lot of energy, got a lot of ego, got a lot of all those things too. So all those things added into the mix of how he was just when he struck out a Razorback batter, he would drop F-bombs. He kept dropping F-bombs. He dropped F-bombs at the umpire, and he just kept doing. It was so weird. I was like, this guy's angry. What is this guy's problem? And ended up being that, of course, he ended up giving up a few runs, getting taken out, and that was the end of it. And Arkansas was the ones that ended up being victorious. So, anyways, I saw that, and it was just so funny to me. I'm like, I just don't understand how pitchers, especially in baseball, because I think there was, everyone talks about the Wes Burton or whatever at Ole Miss, and being goofy and funny and just trying to doing his shoulder thing and talking to himself. And I remember there was that Gonzaga pitcher that had the big FU in his glove and stuff. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Is this stuff that's necessary? Okay, here's my thing. If you're going to do that, fine. Hey, to each their own, whatever. If that gets you hyped, if that makes you perform better, fine. But don't expect people not to make fun of you for it. Don't expect people not to say, what the crap is this? What are you doing? Why are you acting this way? Those things are going to happen. So the fact that you just have these guys that are just acting complete and total fools a lot of times is just, I find it comical. And I'm not trying to say we do it the right way, but I don't remember any Arkansas player being that way ever. I don't think Dave Van Horn would allow a player to be that way, but like I said, Arkansas got the last laugh. They got 8-1, or they won 8-1. And now Arkansas has won 14 straight, or about to win if they win this series against Florida. They're set up for their 14th straight SEC series victory. And that's incredible. That's dating all the way back to 2019, obviously, because 2020 they didn't have an SEC season that year. But people need to understand that, yeah, Tennessee's scary right now. Tennessee's getting all the talk and everything, but Razorback baseball is really, really freaking good too. And people need to start understanding that and start giving them their due. And they're playing at a high level right now. They're going to continue to improve. Not say they're perfect. It's this past weekend's game against in game 3 against I'm just drawing a blank on this one. Was it Texas A&M? No, Mississippi State. There's a Marine team. They should have won that game 3. Now, they won the series, but they should have won that game 3. That was bad. But once Arkansas, we get to see them, what they do against some other quality teams in the SEC, which there will be. I mean, you play LSU next weekend. That'll be a big one. Ole Miss will be one. Vanderbilt will be one. Like, you still got a lot of games in front of you and opportunities to get better. But right now, Arkansas is playing at a really high level. And if you're a Razorback fan, you're hoping that they can continue to keep it up. Appreciate everybody listening in to the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNabors for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.